Good evening. We're picking up where we... not that one. We're picking up where we left off, Oh, Jigstraw. Congratulations on being first, and I hope your groceries go well. Yeah, we're picking up where we left off last time. We've just killed Berserker. The big one, not the small one. We also killed Tsujimikado after ceaseless turmoil and untold sacrifice. Tsujimikado's plot ended along with his life. However, a new spark ignites. Lives burn and the moon grows heavy. The ritual approaches its end. I'm pretty sure the moon was heavy to begin with. It's very big. And it's like made out of rock and or cheese. Tsujimikado has fallen. We also took care of a rogue without incident. Having come this far, all I can think of is... servants. Legendary heroes who all met such dramatic ends. Is it a pulse like cheese? It has craters. So, yes, kind of. Proud archer, who died to protect friends and innocent bystanders alike. Also, fun fact, speaking about the moon, IRL, there's actually, I believe, evidence to suggest that, like, the presence of the moon is part of what allowed life to develop and flourish. Because, like, it's so close, it essentially acts as, like, a shield drawing away orbital debris that otherwise would have struck the Earth. Rogue Berserker, a nigh indestructible mountain of a man who left with a smile. Is that the only pop culture appearance of Iori is Samurai Remnant? Oh, is he like a real person? I will say that is one thing that Fate does that I kind of appreciate, is they put the spotlight on characters that like you'd never heard of before. And by now, Assassin should have also fallen. Yeah, because, like, Assassin killed his own master, presumably. It happened off camera. But one can only hope. We did kill Tsujimikado, who was the master of caster, but casters in particular tend to have their own ways of sourcing mana, so caster's probably going to continue to be a threat. Eventually, this will all come to an end. If I am left standing, if I manage to survive and claim victory, my peaceful slumbering days will return. What's with the long face, Iori? We just had breakfast. Are you still hungry? Kaya? Don't worry, I have plenty. I'm more concerned about you eating properly. I'm not a little kid anymore, so you don't have to fuss over me. I eat plenty. I'll be taller than you before you know it. Ah, is that so? You know, speaking of assassins, thank you for the hydration. Thinking back to Fate Zero, if Kiritsugu hadn't used the catalyst to force King Arthur to be his servant, he probably would have landed with Assassin, and the Grail War probably would have been over in less than 48 hours. Huh. Huh? What? Why am I... Like, they were entranced by the power of Excalibur, but, like, legit, Artoria was, like, personality-wise, probably the single worst possible matchup for Kiritsugu. On that day, at that moment, I first knew real tears. I knew plenty, and I knew sorrow. I realized that sorrow was all that I earned from killing them, the Takeru brothers, in those distant lands. And then my tears ran dry. Oh, dear wife of mine, never would I cry again. Or so I thought, until today. Why, Iori? Just thinking of how my days with you will come to an end, I get so... Well, neither of you cares about reaching the roots, so just wish for a body, Saber. You're allowed to do that. Saber, did you sleep well? No need for such concern. Servants technically don't need to sleep at all. You, on the other hand, don't look like you aren't sleeping enough, Iori. You're not wrong. I'm having trouble sleeping, actually. After all that's happened, maybe I'm not as unshakable as I thought. Not being a servant can be challenging. Don't let your guard down for anything, okay? Right. Iori, I want to ask you something. What's with the formality? What wish do you want granted? Jing asked you yesterday too, but I didn't hear your answer. What do you desire from the waxing moon? To become a high-ranking official, maybe? But that's just a career path. If I could really ask for something that'd be impossible otherwise... Huh? What is it? Oh, no, it's nothing. Kaya is who she is. She can live a happy life even without me wishing for it. What about you, Saber? Have you remembered your own wish? Well... It's kind of embarrassing, but I actually still don't know what I materialized here to accomplish. But I know what I must do. I can't let the waxing moon ritual continue. No matter what world, whatever era it may be, I will do what's right. And I will avenge Archer and the others. Even if they weren't exactly the same person they used to be in the past, leading those souls astray is an act of evil. Setting heroic spirits awry, the waxing moon is a threat to the whole world. It must be stopped. I pledge myself, my sword, to do so. That is my sincere desire. Well spoken. Your reason for responding to the summons must have been quite a heartfelt wish. Somebody's trying to call me, but it's way too late to answer the phone, so I'm not going to be answering that. Yet you say you'll destroy the waxing moon. Are you sure? Yes, I am. I am. Hear this. If I can't remember my own wish even now, it's not worth having granted. Therefore, I wield my sword for my own sake. So, Iori. I understand. If you decided, there's nothing more to say. Let's get ready. We must end this ritual as soon as possible. Delivery update? I don't think anybody's delivering shit at 7 p.m. Hey? Do you really not know what your wish is? I don't. The ritual is ending soon. We have to do all we can to prepare ourselves. I see that, Rogue Saber is my ally, which is not an acceptable state of affairs. That's better. I actually wanted to do the battle recollections, but there was a cutscene, so I couldn't. Extra, welcome back. That was fast. Yeah, like, Rogue Saber is cool and all, but, like, he's not Tamamo Arya. Now I'm just imagining, like, what a Tamamo saber would look like. Probably a fox with a sword. Oh, I don't think I can deliberately carve a void totem. You have a fair amount of Linton to get through. Or pine, rather. How's the translation on Iori's speech patterns? Whoops. He does tend to come across as like a very formal individual, I suppose. I think that was technically my first water statue. Yeah, perhaps I should not be reading chat when I'm doing like a really, tightly timed minigame. Like, chat's the best part about being a streamer. How could I not? Wonder how many accidents have happened due to woodworking streamers reading chat. Presumably, if you're actually doing something that can actually hurt you, you are like laser focused and not looking at chat at all. I would hope. Yeah, swinging back to the alleged delivery for a second, I didn't even order anything recently, so like... 99% chance that that was a loadable. I wonder what Saber and Kaya think when Iori sits down and just carves statues for like an hour straight. It's like, these things take a while. There's no way that these are actually getting done in like 12 seconds of real time. Can I acquire anything else in the Magecraft workshop? Help yourself increases the type of mystic codes that can be made. I'm missing a thing for that. I don't need the ability to change servants. Increases rewards for completing Spirit Font battles. I don't have the thing for that either. But I do like the sound of it. Here you go. Bye. Come along, Saber. There you are. You look like one of Dorothea's men. Is she dead? Are you one of Lady Dorothea's men? Is she alright? Assassin seems to be gone, but... My lady has left this world. She gave her own life to stop Assassin. I see. Let's see if this is what you seek, Assassin. I won't allow you to take anybody else with you but me. Even if only for a short time, I am still your master. That's precisely why I must bear responsibility for your actions. Foreign land or not, protecting the innocent is a noble's duty. So she said, then the lady sacrificed herself, thereby saving the town and its people. I came here to fulfill her dying wish, pulls out a gun, shoots Yori between the eyes. She said that, in the event of her death, I am to offer my assistance to Miyamoto Yori. Heed my words. Yui Shosetsu has obtained the Waxing Moon's vessel and will finalize the ritual with it. The Waxing Moon's vessel? Yeah, the Lesser Grail. Yes. When servants summoned by the Waxing Moon are defeated, the vessel recovers their souls. The souls are a source of enormous magical energy which is then stored in the vessel. Collecting enough souls would provide the magical energy necessary to grant any wish. Using the vessel, the Waxing Moon becomes a wish granter. Placed in a spirit font, the vessel can awaken the Waxing Moon and grant one's wish. My lady said to use the key, but I don't know what that entails. That's your plan, Shosetsu, to set up the vessel somewhere and awaken the Waxing Moon? But what is this key? So, Yui has the Waxing Moon's vessel? Then we have to go after them. For a time, he established his new base at the Tsujimikado residence. However, not long before now... You're late. I'd nearly fallen under that Onmyoji's control. I never thought I would hear you make jokes. You did put on quite the show, I'll admit. It took some effort to recover. My magical energy was at its limit, albeit temporarily. I should have expected no less from the Mystic Slayer. I am in awe of you, Rider. Oh, please, my liege. This was all part of your plan, wasn't it? Otherwise, we'd never have gotten the best of Tsujimikado. Come now, I was merely following your lead and making a joke of my own. More importantly, look at this, Rider. The Waxing Moon's vessel? Yes, Tsujimikado had it hidden away. The vessel, the container used to collect the souls of heroic spirits. I need it in order to use the Waxing Moon. Without it at hand, nothing can proceed. What foreboding magical energy for a mere step in the process. This is the omnipotent wish granter. Imagine all the magical energy it could hold. The Waxing Moon ritual must not be of Onmyoto. There is no hint of offerings made to the gods. The basis of its magecraft? Perhaps it's Western magic or some fusion. How did that Tsujimikado manage to concoct something like this? They say that his clan lost their former power, yet he was able to put together such a spell. I heard Tsujimikado was a descendant of the Abe clan, so it's not so surprising. If Lord Sami were here, it would have turned out much better. Then I'll handle it as best I can. This is no mere trifle we're dealing with. We must not let this fall into anybody else's hands. We must gather the souls of heroic spirits as soon as possible, or else... Oh, that sounds interesting. Go on. Or else what? What business could you still have with us now, Lord Shiemon? Your attack on the 15th servant was in vain. She got away. You can recognize your own mistake, can't you? You wanted the girl as much as I did. And as for my business here, it should go without saying. Hand over the Waxing Moon's vessel, Yui Shosetsu. No. You hand over Lancer's soul, then get out. I'll leave you your life. I'd rather finish this without having to kill one that Lord Suiken attempted to spare. Master? What a joke. What kind of fool would throw away their own wish? Oh, Rider. We're leaving here. No need to hurry. You can kill Lancer anytime. Understood. So long for now, Lord Shiemon. Lancer's soul will be ours eventually. Who do they think I am? Forgive me, Master. I was waiting for the perfect opportunity, but... No, you'd be no match for that thing. A demon skulks within that armor. A demon? But that doesn't mean that I'm giving up, and neither are you, Lancer. Vengeance is mine, or so said the Lord. If he lacks the influence to get it done, then I'll just have to do it myself. I must report this immediately. Huh. So Chiemon and Lancer arrived and Yui disappeared. You have some fine invisibility powers, sir. Well done making it back here alive. If Chiemon had spotted you, he wouldn't be more than a pile of ash right now. If that happened, we'd be left in the dark with Shosetsu pulling the strings. The ritual would have been lost. Thank you for everything you've done for us. I can offer no more. For my lady's sake, may you put forth every effort. Well then, Iori. Right, we have to find Shosetsu and stop their plan. Now, there is a non-zero chance that they're lying. And Assassin and Dorothea are both alive, and this is just like a ruse. After Yui, we have to hurry before the waxing moon gets activated. Shosetsu would probably go to Kanda first. Most likely, but don't let your guard down for a second. There's no avoiding a thought. We have to secure spirit fonts for the coming battle. Like, a lot of people in media tend to, like, overlook that you can just lie to people. Oh, so did a dog. Are they hunting? Nope, I doubt there are any hunting dogs in the city. That's a watchdog at best. Come to think of it, Kai used to love the neighborhood dogs. Dogs are great, especially white ones. There appear to be a number of digressions. Let's start with the guy that I killed last time. Oh, what brings a pair of samurai here? Do you have business with Musashi? Sorry, but she's out at the moment. You could wait a bit or come back another time. Oh, no, it's not that. Then what is it? Oh my, did you come to cheer me up? It seems I hit the nail on the head. You're quite the lady killer, Lord Iori. Worrying over somebody like me who's basically got out of the ritual. But Yoshiwara women are strong. We don't lose heart when somebody disappears or dies. That's really grim. Even Samson. This is what he wanted. That's why he was able to return with a smile. I don't regret grieving him or any part of the short time that we spent together. Wait, Samson wished to disappear? That's what I believe now. It's what Samson wanted. Even though cutting his hair takes away his invincibility. I cut his hair with that wakizashi. Do you two know the one that I'm talking about? I hear that you picked it up after he dropped it. That wakizashi, eh? It's the one that I gave him. He carried it on him devotedly, even though he never used it. But one day he gave it back to me. It happened after Tsujimikado's magic gained control of the rogue servants. I'm sure he had his mind made up ever since then. He forgave me for cutting his hair, for robbing him of his power. His smile was so happy and fulfilled. What am I supposed to do when he shows me a face like that? Dayu? Allow me to thank you both again. Thank you for helping me to stop Samson back then. Thank you for allowing me to do it myself. If you like, could you take this off my hands? This is his hair. I bundled up what was left in my hand on that day. Judge's locks. Everything else vanished without a trace, but for some reason this doesn't disappear. I want you to remember him as well. He was a berserker, but he held no grudges. He was forgiving, protective, and kinder than any other man. Oh, hello there. Secret technique Lion Slayer. A secret technique given by a rogue berserker unleashes a single tremendous sword stroke that sunders the ground. Interesting. Is that like a technique that I have to equip, or can I just do that now? It's a spell? Gotcha. So it's a technique that I got to equip. There are so many digressions back in Asakusa. Fox Girl's final challenge, let's do that. Actually, first things first. Lion Slayer. Can interrupt deadly attacks on strong enemies. It is very expensive. I needed to get 4 things from Rogue Berserker to get through this node. Oh well, not that big of a deal. Let's spend some more Tamamo points. I still need to gain power from Ueno. I think I'll help Tamamo, then I'll go to Ueno and try to get the font there. Yeah, presumably the power spot, because I was looking for it the whole time. Presumably the spot is, in one of the places where I was, like, forced to fight. Good day to you, Wariori. Arya, what are you looking for this time? Well, you see, this time I would like the most beautiful plate in all of Edo. Isn't that right, Arya? Arya, why would you know that? Didn't you know? Arya and I are good friends, right? Right. When did this happen? When? Well, a little while ago. Arya asked me to... Now, Kaya. That is our secret, is it not? Oh, right. What I need to say is, a lot happened. I don't follow. But at least I understand that you two are friendly now. Anyway, you need to find the most beautiful plate in Edo and bring it to Arya. Not just any old plate is going to be enough, right, Arya? Right. I never imagined the two of you would team up on me. Well, I suppose the only thing to do is scour Edo for its best plate. Yeah, just you wait, Arya. I'll surely bring you something that'll wow you. Also, something that I just learned today, actually. Like, coincidence. I actually did not know this, but apparently Edo became Tokyo. I did not realize that was a thing. Just a random bit of trivia that I did not know before today. Boss's candy. Some more pine. If you want a nice plate, try the antique store. A street stall opened up near here. Legit, my first thought was Babylonia. Excuse me, can I see your plates? Sure, we just, your... Do you know Yori? Those eyes, and those katana. Know about it. You're the one who won that tournament. I saw your sword skills with my own eyes. I never thought I'd run into you around here. Buddha must be bringing us together. Yeah? Can I ask you a favor? Please use those skills to chase off that vengeful spirit. Vengeful spirit? Did you see a monster? Yes, on the outskirts of town. That thing wasn't of this world. Please, if you can get rid of those monsters, you can have all the plates that you want. Well now, that sounds like a pretty good deal, doesn't it, Iori? It's not like we could just leave them be anyways. Let's go. Even before the spirit, it's just Tamamo and her fox. Nom. This is another disturbance brought about by the ritual. We'll smite every one of them. Yeah. Okay, that did a lot of damage, actually. I did like about a quarter of the shell gauge. And I messed up the riposte. I also can't help but notice that Arya's not with me right now. Which is a shame, but I guess it makes sense. You know, these depictions of, like, Niue are quite unsettling. They've kinda got that Jeff the Killer face to them. Hey, more pine. That should be all of them. Let's report back to that man. There are also fights about. Reminds me a bit of Hollows from Bleach. I also see that with, like, the white mask and the black body. Sorry for the wait. We finished clearing out the monsters. Really? You can see for yourself if you doubt us. Go to the edge of the town. No, I don't doubt you. I can rest easy now thanks to you. Thank you. Go ahead, take whichever plates you like. I like how we just take all of them. With this penny, there's gotta be one that Ryder likes. Are you sure about that? We're back, Arya. What do you think of this? No, it will not do, I'm afraid. I'm so sorry, Lord Iori. Then, how about this one? No, not that either. All of them are lovely, but none of them cause my heart to stir. Ah, no good, huh? Please, bring me the kind of plate that can make my heart squeal with delight. She probably wants a plate that, like, Iori's eaten off of. This isn't going well. Just what does she want? It doesn't seem like any of the plates that we can find in this area suit her taste. Should we try going farther afield, then? Hey, why don't you try bringing her one from that store? Which store? No way, you don't know the place? It's a textile wholesale store run by a weird boss. Ugh. The name of the store was... Yeah, that's it. Look at you, you knew it after all. Everybody's talking about it. I'd hear about it even if I didn't want to. And as for the weird boss, we've been acquainted before. Really? In that case, you should definitely get a plate from there. Actually, Arya's been interested in that store selection for a while now. But she's scared of the boss, so she can't bring herself to go near it. I understand how she feels. Since you know him, I'm sure he'll pick out a good plate for you. Alright, you can't hurt to try. I guess we have no choice. We need all the help we can get, even that damned boss will do. True, a plate full of chicken nuggets would also satisfy a box, I think. Sir, plate please. What is it, mongrels? Looking quite needy today as well, aren't we? You can tell, actually. I see. Rogue Rider must have quite the keen eye to take an interest in my shop's wares. Where is it? Which plate does she want? This is likely what she's referring to. Oh, it's a fox dressing herself up in the mirror. I like it. Ah, this is quite the tasteful piece. I see, this is quite, Do you want it? In that case, the payment shall be this much. 1,000,000 yen. You seem surprised. Were you not expecting this high of a price? Fools, show some respect. Meadows Mongols will have no place from me. However, I'll make an exception. Instead of money, give me proof of your devotion to me. What do you mean? Miyamoto Iari, you are to carve a statue in my likeness. Of course, it won't do to just carve it. You must capture the beauty of my supreme form. If only I hadn't immediately sold him all the statues that I already carved of him. Luckily, the new way that I killed earlier dropped the material that I need to carve statues of him. If you do well, I will acknowledge your devotion and perhaps even lower the price. Alas, I wished to sell the statues immediately. I shall simply have to carve more. I've got enough pine to carve like 10 of them, I think. 7. 7's kind of like 10. Saber's just staring like I thought we were done with this for today. I think I don't feel like doing more than one right now, given that I already did a chunk earlier. Unless Gilgamesh's price is like extortionate, in which case I might need to carve more. I suppose this earns a passing grade. Very well. Just this once I will factor in the sad state of your wallet. We are in your debt, sir. True, off camera I could carve more. Refined plate. Oh, it's only 1,000. Yes, very substantial discount. Here, we brought you one. This should do, right? Oh wow, this is pretty nice. What do you think, Arya? Yes, it is quite a lovely plate. I will happily accept it, Lord Iari. Thank goodness, this was the toughest search yet. Saber, it was down the road. Lighten up, Saber. All's well that ends well. Thanks so much, Saber. You too, Iari. Now then, let's get started right away, Arya. Yes, Kaya, I am aflutter with determination today. What are you two going to do? That is a secret, right? Yes, do you forgive me, both of you? Another secret, eh? What is Arya thinking? Lighter, whatever you're scheming is none of my business, but if Kaya's involved, that changes things. If something were to happen to her, It's alright, Saber, don't worry. I won't do anything dangerous. What do you mean by scheming? I don't want you speaking badly of my friend. We were only trying to protect. You know, Saber, Kaya won't listen when she gets like this. She's mature enough to judge things for herself. If she says it's fine, then it's fine. But what if she ran into danger, just the other day? We know full well what kind of person Arya is. She might be strange and a bit hard to grasp, but she'd never expose Kaya to danger. Well, I suppose that's true. Can you swear not to put Kaya in any danger, Arya? But of course. I am still a heroic spirit after all. You need not worry for Kaya's safety. Very well. I'll leave her in your care for now. Oh, Lord Iari, you never change. No, it's nothing. Let us be off, Kaya. Okay. They are 100% preparing a meal for us. Is this alright, Iari? Yeah, I trust Arya's word. Besides, if she really intended to harm Kaya, she would have done so a while ago. So I think it's fine to leave them be. I do wonder what they could be planning, though. If you say so. I think it's less I'm a heroic spirit and wouldn't put her in danger, and more I'm a heroic spirit and can protect her. Arya, what do you want? Calling me here all alone? Say, Lord Iari. Thus far I have gathered more beautiful things than I could possibly count. But no matter how pretty a painting or sculpture, they were unable to fill my heart. But then, in this town, there was at last something more beautiful than all the rest. I see. That's good to hear. So then, what is it that you found? I want your heart, Lord Iori. It is the most beautiful, precious thing in this whole town. My heart? What do you mean? As sharp as the moon and as clear as a blade, your heart will be dyed in my color. I love the face that she's making. He doesn't seem like her usual self. Saber isn't around either. What do I do? How are you gonna get yourself out of this, Miyamoto Iori? Aww. At first, I wanted nothing more than to do just that. But you are as translucent as the moon, and the moon is beautiful because it can't be dyed. The moon? I'm sorry, Arya, but I don't understand. You do not have to. You need only remain just as you are, Lord Iori. Now, come this way. I have something that I wish to show you. What is this? There you are, Yuri. I heard everything from Kaya. What a simple man. Sit down over there. I'll bring some more food right away. Saber? Kaya? This plate. Isn't this what we gave Arya before? What on earth is going on here? You like how her tail is thicker than her torso? Also the case here. Just saying, also the case here. The plate, the ingredients, everything I asked you to find has been leading to this day. The moon's brilliance is unchanging, but it can show many different faces now. Such as a gentle face on a cloudy day, or a bright, vivid face when the sky is clear. How wonderful would it be to influence the many faces of the moon? I have long considered how I could get you to show me your many faces, Lord Iori. And then, when I saw Kaya cooking, it all pulled into focus. I knew this was it. And before I knew it, I was begging you to bring me a knife, Lord Iori. So that's why you began asking for a knife all of a sudden. Yes, but a knife on its own would do me no good. I had never cooked before, you see. You know, I love Arya's expression here. Despite my appearances, well, I come from a rather privileged background. After thinking things over, I made up my mind to pay Kaya a visit. Ever since that day, she's been giving me special cooking lessons in secret. So, this is the result of that training. You could have told me sooner. Now, Lord Iori. If I had done that, I would have never seen your surprised face. Please, eat to your heart's content. Now I wish to see your smiling face. It's not as good as something the cat might prepare, but I put my all into it. Cat is the berserker variant of Tamamo. Cat? What is it? Nothing. This is the result of your hard work. I think it's quite beautiful. I'd be happy to eat your handmade food. Yes, that is the face that I wanted to see. Please, don't you have a seat over there? Allow me to feed you. No, that's a bit... Why are you acting all shy? Arya made all this food for you, you know? Yes, but I'll gladly eat the food, but she doesn't have to feed me. Ah, what a lovely expression. Like I said, you don't have to... Hey, Kaya, Saber. You can do it, Arya. I'm sure you'll be overjoyed. Huh? What's the problem, Iori? Just give up and say ah already. You traitors. And then he got fed by a fox. What kind of face will I get to see next? I would like to see a crying face next time. Please prepare yourself, will you? You have formed a bond with Tamamo, Arya. Wait, which is agreement? Hello? Brother? What is it, Kaya? You seem more frantic than usual. How should I explain this? Not too long ago, a cute, super smart piggy came trotting along. A piggy. Yes, a pig, and it talks. It asked me if I was your little sister. A talking pig. It has to be seriously. Did you sound familiar over here? I was completely blown away. Oh, and the little piggy had a message for you. Hello, my lovely Felicity. Have you been missing your owner? You did a splendid job solving that problem the other day. You truly are wonderful pets. By the way, you haven't forgotten our promise, have you? I certainly didn't raise you to be naughty pigs that go back on their word. And so, I will leave a message with your sister. Don't say I didn't remind you, okay? And that's it. But Yori, an owner? If your master knew you were into that kind of thing, he'd cry. Where'd you learn about stuff like that? Don't misunderstand, she's one of our allies. A promise? Oh, did we promise to invite her to the house? Yeah. Then let's do it right away. Are we gonna have a guest over? If your owner's coming over, then I need to get everything perfect. She isn't my owner. Damn it, seriously. In any case, we need your help, Kaya. Please prepare a meal as you normally do. Yeah, I'll help too. But I want to go to Wayno. I want to get a ley line for Arya. Sorry to keep you waiting, my pick was to be. Were you lonely without your owner? I bet you were. I even brought a gift. This is a handmade mystic code. Expect great things from it. Lift wings. There's one enemy minor spirit fought without a battlefield to an unclaimed state. If that works anywhere on the map, that's kind of hilariously effective. And also, we don't have much to offer, but I'm glad to see you so happy. Happy? I seem happy, huh? Well, it has been a while since I've been invited somewhere. You know, I'm always the one waiting to entertain guests that might never show up. But if you really want me to, I don't mind popping by now and then. After all, it's an owner's duty to look after her lovely little piglets. Ah, how bittersweet. I had thought you were a scary witch, but you're such a sweet side. Look here, you. Do you want to be a pig again? Ugh, heaven forbid. Setting the amusing book's comment aside, it's true, I'm happy. I want to return the favor to be useful somehow. Being unable to leave the spirit font for long makes it tricky, but if it's something I can help with, then I would do anything for you. You sure are popular, Yori. What are you talking about? Brother, Saber, help me carry the food. Okay, we'll be right there. Wait here a second, seriously. Of course, I'm always waiting. Now then, I want to enjoy myself today. I expect a warm welcome. Imagine serving her pork. Medable piglets. An invitation to the feast of beasts and madness. All are trampled beneath the marauding swine. You have formed a bond with Circe. I guess bond means you get their noble phantasm. That or like you maxed out their quest line. Because Arya didn't have a phantasm. You cannot hold any more. Regrettable, I couldn't hold on to it. I want to go to Wayno and get the ley line there before any other distractions happen. It's probably up north. My brother's keeper, that's a thing. Okay, anyway. Seems there's a digression here too. Multitasking. Few foxes with one nugget. I mean, I do have Arya with me. Also, I sense a kitty here. I want to pet it. It's very important to pet cats where possible. As long as the cat's into it. But like, if the cat's not into it, it's usually not possible to pet them at all, so if you get the chance, take it. Oh, hello? Did not quite accomplish what I hoped it would. That attack's really expensive. I need to be careful about using it. You like how I dodged by dashing into the attack? Yeah. And he's dead. I have much to learn of the way of two swords. Surely, the Sphere of Thought is around here somewhere. Oh, it is in fact right there. This is Tsujimikado's brother. Oh, those are the young Myoji we saw before. But they do fire something again, even without Tsujimikado. Huh. No signs of service in the area. We'll simply ask them directly. Wait, Saber, we can't just... Good grief. I see. And how did things proceed? Sir, everything went smoothly in Kanagawa. The foreign mage also seems to be doing well in Yokosuka and Akasaka. I'm pleased to hear it. Then we simply need to attend to. That's far enough. What do you think you're up to? You. With my brother gone, I have no schemes or intentions to do you any harm. Easy for you to say, not as easy to believe. Doubt me if you wish, I could hardly blame you. But things are different now. We have duties that we must fulfill. A monster has been located. Lord Takatoshi, we must subdue them at once. Subduing monsters, are you? This peaceful world need not know of them. Mystic matters must be hidden from the people. Such thinking may be more in line with Western mages than the Onmyoji of old, but even we must adapt to the times. Having succeeded as the ritual's overseer, I cannot allow monsters to run rampant. Now, if you'll excuse me. Huh? Let's see what he's up to. I may have my reservations about Tsujimikado, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, but like the important thing... There we go. You don't have to worry if it's off him. Is he gonna be okay? There we go. Complete all of her digressions, and... Oh wait, that didn't count as getting power from Ueno? I guess that was Kaniji, not Ueno. Oh dear, So there's another spirit font. Wait. I went into Ueno. How did I end up in Kaniji? I guess that's like... the two different maps? That's interesting. Okay. I did not realize that was the thing. So I must have like missed Ueno a while back. It's like I went looking for it, but I couldn't find it. I could have sworn I was thorough. This whole time I was like, oh, I guess it's like the sealed bit to the north, but if that was Kaniji the whole time, then... Today sure is my lucky day. A day like this calls for a nice drink and a quiet Monsters! You there, stand back. Good grief, what on earth is that Tsujimikado doing? They might be dealing with other monsters, or perhaps they simply lost track of these. Ah, what a pain. We have to deal with them, Iori. Oh, shipwreck. I like this one. And then we went surfing. No, you're not allowed. Because I say so. And he's dead. Huh? What are you two doing here? As if you had to ask. We're the ones who should be asking what you were doing. Well, you see, we lost track of the monsters and... Hey, I heard a pretty loud noise. Did something happen? Lord Takatoshi, please allow me. As you will. Now then, you two, please step aside for a moment. Hey, what's all the commotion about? Please listen, just now. A small fire broke out over there. It's caused a bit of a mess. What? No, monsters came in. Monsters? What are you on about? I bet you were just too drunk to see straight again. No, that can't be. Can it? Well, in any case, I advise you to keep away for now. Check the Kawaraban for more details later. I see. So the tranquility here, despite the rumors of monsters, is thanks to you all. We will not needlessly stir up trouble in Edo. That is one of our agreements with the authorities. Though a master may settle things themselves, such as in Yokosuka and Akasaka, neither monsters nor heroic spirits are generous enough to care about where they fight. Huh. Lord Takatoshi, we spotted more monsters over there. Please make haste. Of course. Lord Miyamoto and Saber, I humbly ask for your assistance. Please lend us your aid in subjugating the monsters of this place. What will you do, Iori? The monsters pose a threat to the town. I see no reason to refuse. That said, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Please use this time to refill your beverage, go to the bathroom. You think it would take about 5 minutes. I will see you shortly. I return. Oh, also, if you recall from the start of the stream, when, I got, like, a call, after the call went through, I got a text message basically saying, hey, we tried to go over a thing and it didn't work. During the break, I went and I checked that URL, you know, to see if it was legit, you know, 1 in a million chance, maybe it's actually something. I checked 3 different review sites. The 2 that were reviewed by humans were like, yeah, no, this is like 1 million% a scam. There was one that was using like an AI to generate, like, you know, reports, and that one said, yeah, no, this is legit. So I mean, take that how you will. For hundreds of years, my family has protected Japan from monsters. Keeping the peace here is our duty as the overseers of the ritual, and something that we take great pride in. It amuses me how, even on a task as simple and straightforward as information gathering, not even like interpreting, it still manages to get it wrong. Anyway. Oh, rude. I was doing your thing. How dare you interrupt? Also, it turns out that, like, for the entire first half of stream, I was accidentally in voice chat on my Discord server. So conceivably, anybody could have crashed stream. That was an oopsie. Luckily nobody did. I don't think there would have been really dire consequences if anybody had, but like, it was technically on the table. Ow, my bones. Chalice in the background. Oh, thank you for the head dance. I always enjoy being the subject of affection. Oh, and thank you for the rotation. I shall use the additional power to defeat this Rakshasa. Mine wasn't quite as good on the second one. I suppose technically my health isn't really low enough for fire. I should probably be using, like, earth instead. Or actually wind, because this is a monster. I should try to make more of an effort to use more stances. Anyway, now I'm hurt enough to use fire, so And he's dead. Excellent work, you two. You can leave the rest to us. Are the preparations complete? Yes, sir. Everything is well in hand. Then, please proceed as planned. You certainly run a tight ship, except for all the leaks. I've always been good at things like this, much more so than with magic. Now then, as the presence of monsters has faded, we shall return to Kaneishi. Allow me to again express my thanks. We would not have been any match for them alone. There's no need to thank us. That certainly wasn't something you all could have taken care of on your own. We practically slew all the monsters for you, didn't we? Could it be that you're unskilled at magic? Saber, he literally just told you that he's not skilled at magic. Indeed. You're very perceptive. Your ears work. I fall short of my brother in many ways. All I ever had to do until now was follow the instructions that he gave me. My household has lost too much power to make much of its lineage with the great Seimei. Only my brother had such strength. Scorn, contempt, disgrace. My brother bore it all and remained strong. His Majesty has given his approval. You may carry out this waxing moon ritual. You have my thanks. You understand, yes, Tsujimikado? Should the waxing moon truly contain power, its might should rest with the shogunate's hands. There can be no threat to the eternal reign of Tokugawa, no power we do not control. But of course, I will present the waxing moon to His Majesty when the ritual is complete. Heh. Thus you are fit to lead the Onmyoji. Much more so than the successors of the Kotokui. You honor me with your praise. To this day I do not know for certain. Did my brother truly intend to present the waxing moon to the shogunate? No. Definitely not. You simply have no magical talent, Takatoshi. Train all you like, you will accomplish little. Yes, brother, I'm aware. Come now, you're next in line to lead our house. It's high time you acted like it. But as you say, I am truly without talent. I could never serve as our house's leader. There are other talents than magic. As gifted in magic as our father was, he still lost his status to political upheaval. I will lay the groundwork, a path for our proud house to regain its glory. Your job will be to walk that path, but you must do so boldly and without shame. He sought our house's revival above all else. Even if in only some small way, if I could have managed to meet brother's expectations, then he may not have needed to walk the path of violence. What'll you do now? Will you inherit Tsujimikado Yasuhiro's ambition and attempt to stand in our way? I will of course inherit his life's work, however. My brother and I are not the same person, not even close. I will see it done my own way. Whatever comes, I will not betray the ambition that he has entrusted to me. I see. I will take my leave. There is much work yet to be done. I wish you luck, and I will pray for your success in my brother's place. Even without a sword or magical prowess, he stands unflinching before monsters. As far as strength of will, you and your brother are not so different. Okay, but can I find the Ueno spirit font, please? Where could it be? I could have sworn I checked everywhere already. I might have to just look this up. I really could have just looked you in the eyes and said that I scoured everything south of the gate. Evidently I didn't. Ooh, GP, nice. Still in Kaneishi. And now I'm back in Ueno. The sky is no longer ominous, which is how you can tell. Or maybe for the font to appear, Ueno had to be smashed like this. You think you know where it is? My guess is going to be, like, down here by the dock, where, like, the fight between Archer and Berserker happened. That's my guess. I'm going to use the boats again, though, just in case it's on that little island. Oh, here it is. You visited Shinobazu Pond. Okay, that did count. Extend duration. And then the rest are just, make the buff more powerful. Alright, let's see here. Vassal's Duty, Born Curios. I had kind of assumed that, like, spirit fonts like that had to be, like, under, like, Tori or whatever, but I guess I was mistaken. I was not correct. I got distracted. Oh well. Oh, Yor! Hey, Yori, Saber. The waxing moon ritual is almost over. I guess the big moment's finally here. Before that, there's something we have to take care of. The rematch that I wanted? You didn't forget, did you? Of course not, right, Iori? Right. I've been waiting for the chance to fight you. Same here. Alright then, let's get to it. Pulls out a gun, shoots Iori between the eyes. Wait, Lancer, we can't fight here. Yeah, why not? What's the big deal? All I see around here are some ruins. Even if we blew them all away, it wouldn't... Is that ruins? Oh, I see, so this is your... Sorry, my bad. It's so run down, I got the wrong idea. An honest mistake. I mean, look at this place. In any case, I'd like to move to a spacious place with as few people as possible. How about Torikori's Shrine? I hear there aren't many people around there lately. As long as we're fighting, I don't care where. I'll head on over there. And then he evaporated. Where is that? Oh, it's over there? Okay. I feel like there was something I was going to do, but... I forget. Fighting Lancer can be a thing that happens. Actually, I suppose I could buy some skills for Iori. Using spells, there's a chance that gems won't be consumed. That's nice. I need to craft more gems for that, though. Oh, excellent. I do want this. More affinity gauge. I remember seeing somewhere There was a thing that I could get that would give me another, what's the word? Another bar of, like, Valor Gauge, I think it was. I might be misremembering. Oh, I wanted that one, actually. Easier shell gauge breaking. Close enough. Already maxed out Valor. Affinity goes up to 6. I guess I'll keep looking for that. I know it's around here somewhere. It's got an icon like a starburst, kind of like this. Anyway. Have I forgotten anything? Oh, these are fancy. They got like a gold background. I presume that's like a quality level thing? $50. Alright. Let's save our game because even though he's a Lancer, Ku still kind of scares me. You ready? Yes. Yes, I'm ready. Rogue Lancer, the vigorous warrior. I do have 3 bars of Valor, so like... presumably if he tries to refill his shell gauge, I can be like, no. I'm a little bit sad that Arya is once again, not at my party, so to speak. Presumably it's because, like, technically Lancer is my ally right now, but I'm fighting him. I feel like I want it to be Arya. I feel like this buff isn't doing much. Like, I don't feel like I'm breaking the shell gauge particularly quickly. Though maybe I just have a spoiled interpretation of fast. Saber saved my life. Ow, my bones. I thought I would keep playing a Saber. I was evidently mistaken. Bullshit. You saw me hitting the button to do a Valor Strike. Oh well. Cutscenes be like... Pardon my French, by the way. I see that his spear is, a light. I don't think that this is a Child of Light thing. I think this is more of like a demonic miasma from a cursed spear thing. Well, Lancer is just kind of getting bullied at this point. Yeah, it just occurred to me that, like, canonically... if Lancer and I were to fight, a whole bunch of really lucky nonsense happening to give it to me, which is probably canonically exactly what would happen. Because, like, luck is a tangible factor in Fate, and his is canonically really, really bad. Ah, luckily my heart has 4 chambers. You only pierced one of them. This whole Phantasm Extra has a 100% chance to kill you unless your luck is really high. Like that, yes. I guess you have to interrupt that, which makes sense. I figured that if he was gonna do like the instant kill stab, he would do like a Noble Phantasm thing. You know, Ku is kind of ridiculous. Yeah, canonically that attack that he uses, functionally speaking, guaranteed to kill you unless we're lucky. That's just how it works. It's kind of like a primer to Fate series nonsense, because basically the attack pierces your heart, and then figures out retroactively how it managed to do that, and then, like, retroactively that's what happened. Yeah. In hindsight, I probably should be using Saber because the substitution gauge is full. Oh well. Yeah, now I know the really big snarky thing is very much a reason to stockpile affinity. No shell gauge for you. I said no. He's like, I don't care. I don't need your permission for a shell gauge. Oh, thank you for the hydration. It seems like my attacks aren't actually interrupting that, which is concerning. Like, being in iframe seems to do the job, but like, outright canceling it doesn't. Into the corner with you. Yeah, when Ku tries to refill his shell gauge, he gets sent to the naughty puppy corner. He's not allowed to do that. And he's dead. Ah, look at you. Why did you get this good? You faced my spear and lived to talk about it, Miyamoto Yori. To be honest, I thought I was going to die. I saw a premonition, but then time wound backwards. I got lucky this time. I doubt things would go this way again. Probably not, but I can see on your face that you're actually confident of winning again. Ah, nice. You're a wee bit different from the Celtic heroes, but not bad at all. How about her, Yori? You up for another? Hold it. Did you forget our agreement, Lancer? Oh, that's right. Well then, Yori, it's just like I said before. I'll use every ounce of my strength to help you earn your victory. I won't let you regret making me your ally. Feel free to call on my spear anytime. Ukulan. Geborg. Gorged on strength, the magic spear is thrown aloft. No enemy in the area can withstand its impact. Gouge and Skewer uses both swords to unleash a quick flurry of thrusts. Interesting. I wonder if that's cheaper than Samson's. By 1 point, yes it is. Let's do a thing for Saber. I totally forgot that I was going to do Gilgamesh next, but here we are. Where's Saber's thing? Bill's thing is there. What's his face is there. My beloved is here. I guess it is inside. Maybe it's Kaya. Here you go. Or not. Oh. Yori, do you have a moment? What's wrong? I want to thank Kaya for everything she does for us. Oh? I want to give her something that I made with my own 2 hands. But to do that, I'll need several materials. Won't you help me? The ritual will be over soon. I know that we don't exactly have much free time, but even still, I want to give her something. Because after the ritual is over, there's no way I would ever say no to that. Thank you for thinking of her. Of course I'll help. If she knew how much you care for her, she would be overjoyed. Really? Yay. Thank you. You're the best, Yori. So, what do we need to gather? Actually, I already have most of what we need. I need your help gathering the materials required for the finishing touches. Ah. Is this going to be something like the impossible tasks of Princess Kaguya? Kaguya? No, Lady Kaguya has something to do with it. Yeah? Never mind. I just want to make sure. These are things that really exist, yes? Of course. It's just a bit hard to get a hold of. Just a bit? Well, Ito's huge, so we'll surely find it. Do you at least have an idea of where to start looking? I do. I thought of one person who might have the things that I'm looking for. Gilgamesh? Just one, huh? Well, let's go meet them. I'll think of the head tats. Is it Gilgamesh? It's always Gilgamesh. Oh, Arya? What's up? It's Arya? Oh my, Lordy Ari! I am deeply moved that you would come to visit me. Sorry, but I'm the one who wants to speak with you. There's something I want to ask. Is that so? You have that cloth in this text? Wonderful. Yes, I had the material you're looking for. Oh, wonderful. Please let me have it. Well, I happen to be quite fond of it. I won't let go of it unless it's a request directly from Lord Iori. I see. I know just what to do. I will give to you in exchange for something that I want. Something you want? I would like the beautiful gem that Lord Iori grips in his hand from time to time. Does she mean like the crystals for spellcraft? Iori? Don't give me that face. It's certainly valuable, but not one of a kind. To me, it's a one-of-a-kind treasure. Make sure to bring a lot of them. So, she wants a lot of which is one of a kind to her. Alright, understood. I got what you wanted, Arya. Oh, lovely. I'm overjoyed. As promised, I will give you the material. It's a big help. You have our thanks. I need to remember to craft 40 more of those gems. We have the first one. Of course. However, I have no leads on the second one. Just our luck. The name of the second material might suggest we could get it from horned monsters. Based on what my master once told me, it might be the mythical ogre. Derived from a niddling god of... No? Just an ogre? Something with a horn? I don't think just any monster will do, though. Won't do how? How should I put it? They're just not enough. So only a strong ogre will do, eh? We should ask Sukinoshin if he's heard any rumors about ogres. Rumors about ogres? All I've heard is idle talk at best, but that's what a rumor is, Sukinoshin. Oddly enough, I've been hearing them pretty often of late. That figures. Have you heard anything about a particularly strong one? All ogres are strong, aren't they? But yeah, I've heard a little something. It's about the great ogre of Todoroki. Oh. You know about Roni and comedian Tsujikiri, bloodying their swords around here, yeah? Apparently a giant ogre came to feast on all the blood and resentment. Drunk on gore and malice, it wanders the Todoroki mountains. They say the great ogre's roars echo from the mountains to the far-off villages every night. Well, how about Todoroki? You think we'll be able to find what you need? We won't know unless we try. We'd have to deal with that ogre at some point anyway. It'd be a good idea to cash in monster bounties for workshop upgrade materials. What do you mean by cash in monster bounties? Missions like Sukinoshin's? Gotcha. Defeat the ogre. There might not be enough water flowing. I could always use my sword, though. What are you talking about? AGS, there's practically only one thing to do in a place like this. Is it fish? Come, Iori. The waterfall shall cleanse us of our impurities. We don't have time for... Actually, maybe we do have time. Oh, they're gonna do waterfall meditation. I feel so much lighter. So this is the great ogre. It looks a lot like the other ogres that we fought. Oh, it's sparking, never mind. There's quite a bit of magical energy. I think we can get our hopes up. gave a bunch of gems to Arya, and in fact that was the last of them. So, whoops. Oh well. This is fine. And it's got no shells, so now it dies. And it's dead. Easy. Didn't seem that great to me. Alright, that should do it for the second material. The last thing is... what's this? Something that has a connection to the sea, I think? Huh. Should we try heading to a port? Mermaid's shell. Wait, mermaids don't have shells. Saber? Long ago, I lost somebody very precious to me in this sea. She was very kind. She didn't hesitate to take my blood-stained hand in hers. I swore never to let go of her hand, her warm. But in the end, I allowed her to be swallowed by the sea. I should have held onto her hand. I should have stopped her by any means necessary. Saber? No, never mind. In any case, it's something I never wish to experience again. That's why... yeah, let's do what we can to have no regrets. Yes, let's go. Maybe I was overthinking. Monster say, Saber. Not too bad for that. Let's deal with them quickly. If Arya made your animation speeds faster, it'd be... like, overwhelmingly the best. Huh, something fell to the ground. Saber, isn't this... this is it. Not the most unexpected place to find it, I guess. We found it, we found it! Oh, thank you so much, Yori. I'm so happy. Hooray! I get it. That's quite the happy face. You thank me to do the finishing touches. By the way, what are you making? Hey, you have to wait until I'm done to find out. It's done. Are you happy with it? Yes, it did take a bit of time, but I believe I was able to put my heart into it. I see. I look forward to seeing what it is. I'll go call Kaya. Wait here, Saber. What is it, Saber? You needed me for something? I would like you to have this. Wow, what a pretty comb. I can have this. You've done much for me. Consider it a token of my appreciation. I do hope you like it. I loved it the second I saw it. It's so pretty. Good for you, Saber. Seeing her this happy makes it worth the effort it took to make, no? What? You made this, Saber? That's amazing. That must be why I like it so much. Thank you so much. It's nothing. Please use it if you like. Of course, I'll run it through my hair 50 times a day. Oh, Saber? What is it? I want to mark the occasion, so would you be the first to brush my hair with my new comb? Oh, thank you for the head pats. Are you sure you want me to do it? Yes, please. I understand. Allow me then. Thank you. Brother? Eh? What do you mean, huh? Do I really need to spell it out? Sorry, but I have no idea what you're talking about. You might be able to read the swing of a sword, but not a maiden's heart. Don't you laugh at me. Listen, brother. Saber will be brushing my hair. This is a special moment, so... Okay, I get it. I'm in the way, is that it? I'll go take a walk before I anger the beast. Hey, learn when to stop talking. Phew. Was I too obvious? You... Hey. Why'd you give me a comb? Plus, isn't this? It is. I modeled it after the one that washed up on the beach. So I'm gonna get back to you. I'd rather return it to you than take it as a farewell gift. Ever since that day, I've been wanting to do so. You're still worrying about that? I'm sorry, my beloved. I know. It must have been so painful, so difficult. Defeat evil and do good. You placed that heroic burden on yourself. Moving ever onward, shouldering that pain and loneliness without complaint. I was so very proud of you. I was proud to be able to stand by your side. I would do anything to be of use to you, no matter what it may be. That's why I went into the sea with pride in my heart. It was the first time I could open the way for you, who always carved your own path. It was the happiest moment of my life. My comb was a symbol of my pride. And so, if this comb was a symbol of yours, I happily accept it. Even so, this time I swear to protect you. And then she gives him head pats. I feel like that one should have been worth a little bit of extra save for affinity. Thank you for the head pats. Let's do some shopping first, just in case. Ah, you come, mongrels. And with excellent timing, I have orders for you. What is it this time? Just recently, a merchant came to peddle for antique crockery. The most remarkable item caught my eye. I tried to purchase it, but those children toddled in and the merchant left while I was dealing with Eikichi. So you want us to find the merchant? Why is it always merchants? Do you have any leads, sir? Finding such things is a retainer's job. If you understand your task, then be about it. Retainers? We are not your retainers. Okay, calm down. Just bear with it for now. Let's try the general store first. They may know who the merchant is. Playing Ragnarok on the side, you got 0.05% drops in the span of 15 to 20 seconds. Nice. Low drop rates are just a suggestion if you think about it. A merchant who deals in foreign tea sets. Oh, it must be that guy. I can't say for sure, but he's likely gadding about somewhere. He's on good terms with the old man of the shop over there. You should try asking him. A merchant selling foreign tea sets. Yes, I know him. He often fools about as young men do, but he has a genuine eye for teapots. Do you know where that merchant went? I don't suppose I need to spell out where a lecherous young man might spend his time. I believe he said he hired bodyguards. I do hope he's not mixed up in something bad. You find a lecherous young man here. Nice. Fair amount of stuff from her. Suginoshin, fancy seeing you here? On patrol? Ah, Yori, why now of all times? What's wrong? It's nothing. Really? Like you guessed, I'm out here patrolling. So sorry, but I got no time to chat. Later. Would that man be an acquaintance of yours, sir? I often catch sight of him hereabouts. And it's dead. And my experience buff ran out. Unfortunate. Luckily, nobody saw that happen, apparently. Ah, somebody saved me. If you got money for guards, then pay back the damn money you borrowed. Guards? We should check that out. Don't even think about running. You're the guy that deals in teapots, yeah? Ah, no. I don't really handle my precious goods. Hey, Yori, do you recognize that man? I do. He's the one who tricked us and ran off before. Seems he hasn't changed. I can't believe this is the merchant he wants. What do we do? We help because that's what Gilgamesh would want. Help the merchant? Yeah. We can't very well let him die, I suppose. Let's go, Saber. What, are you two also as guards? Guards? Oh, the two from before. Thank you for coming to save. We don't mind saving you, but we'll be taking a tea set in return. No way. I couldn't possibly give one away. I see. In that case, we'll take our leave. No, hold on. Wait. I'll give you all the tea sets you want, just save me. Remember what you just said. It's time to fulfill our end of the bargain. How many people has this one guy annoyed? It appears to be a rather substantial number. I also forgot to put gems on to cook, which is unfortunate. And they're dead. Amazing. You two sure are strong. Thank you for the headpats, I appreciate them. Thank you, bye now. No, you don't. Hey. Ah, haha, that's right, I almost forgot. Sorry about that, it was a joke. But I do have to go home first to get the tea set. We'll come with you. Here, take it. This is what I tried to sell to the textile shop. It took a bit of effort, but we have the goods. Let's hurry back to the boss. Good think you would be in Yoshivara? Well, what you're looking for is often close at hand. Those are fine words of sort of you push these troublesome affairs on us. Saber, bear with it for now. Actually, sir, there's something I'd like to ask you. What do you see in that tea set? It doesn't seem so different from other foreign imports. Ha! You simply lack an aesthetic sense such as mine to discern the quality. Is that it? In any case, I'm just happy we were able to fulfill our task. Yes, fine work, Mongols. I shall bestow a suitable reward. Endeavor to provide such stellar service again in the future. Yaha. We're getting tasty rice. Just remember that we're getting tasty rice. We're getting really close to maxing Saber's third thing out. You, who have served me adequately thus far, should be well aware by now. Aware that I am the sole Supreme King, that you should serve me and no other. Rejoice, Miyamoto Yori, but this time I will deign to hear your oath. Now swear it. Swear to become my attendant. Eh? Haha. Yori, let us conquer this world together, though of course he will do all of the work. This is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. I'm at a loss for words. But there's no need to say it out loud. The answer's obvious. Isn't that right, Yori? Right, about your proposal, No, I can't take over the world. Arya lives there. I must refuse. There's something I must do in Edo. Yep, it's the obvious answer. The day you accept will be the day that pigs fly. I see. Then you wish me to compel your obedience. Yeah? What an inhuman presence. This isn't merely killing intent, it's the overwhelming aura of an almighty king. This is a completely different level. If you would refuse to enter my service, you must show power enough to earn your freedom. Both of you may fight me at once. One mongrel alone would hardly make for a fair fight. Is this a super boss? It's Gilgamesh, of course it is. I never thought I would refuse to enter a lord's service. At any rate, we're taking him down, Saber. Yeah, we won't lose to you, you damn wholesaler. Wholesaler? Ah, yes, I suppose that was my title, but no more. Yaha! We'll be changing locations, mongrels. I suppose a shopkeeper wouldn't intentionally throw away the entire store. Torikoi Shrine should do nicely. That place has never been very crowded. And if you want to come out in one piece, you'd best prepare yourselves. Even as a weakened rogue, I am still me. If you mongrels get arrogant, only death awaits. When you've readied yourself, let me know. Don't you dare keep me waiting too long. Accepting would have entered the game on the spot. Nice. Anyway, we're gonna call it there for the night. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Next scheduled stream is going to be on Sunday. It is a multi-world randomizer between Wind Waker, Link to the Past, and Hollow Knight. The next time that I'm playing this game in particular is going to be on Monday. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful night, and I hope to see you again. Good night.